Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me for the NotTooShabbyShop.com. This month, the month of May 2018, I am the guest designer and I have the privilege to use their very first stamp set, which is Let's Do Coffee. It's a photopolymer set, and with the help of the MFT, Ocean Fun, and the Penny Black wood floors, which is a great die because it shows perspective, I'm going to stamp images that I'm going to use from the stamp set, and I've used a Grote Gray on a high quality cold press watercolor. Using Faber-Castell watercolor pencils, I'm going to go over the lines as indicated by the artist, using a mid-tone to trace over the lines, and then working on each side of the line. Once I have each of the lines shaded with the mid-tone, I'm going to come in with the lighter tone, and I'm not going to go over what I've colored. I'm just going to extend it by adding more of this color at the end of the previous color. And I'm also going to go on both sides of the line, making sure to preserve some white space in between. I also want to indicate where the cast shadows would be. The opening is going to be a small aquarium, so you would look into that. So the darkest portion would be the last line. I've taken the mid-tone and highlighted that as well, and then used the lighter color to continue that coming forward from the line. A nice brush with a detail point is wet, and it's blending those shades together. Now I'm just going down each line first and then working my way back to extend the lighter shade into the middle, still preserving a lighter spot, so the white space. Now I'm going to build up my color, so this is just the first layer of color. Moving on to the barista, while this bar dries, I've taken a couple shades of blue. So this is French ultramarine, which is the darkest shade, and then I'm going to pull that darker shade up into the lighter color that was placed onto the watercolor paper. Now I'm moving, I want to keep this more of a lighter apron, so I'm moving into the gray. Now I'm taking the darkest shade and going up and down the lines as I previously was, using the mid-tone on each side of that dark line and pulling that color out. The apron has dried, and so I'm going to rework that again with the same shades I did before, a light and a dark blue, keeping the darkest shades on the pleats and the sides so that we have it will round and look as though it's being worn. The serving dish that the cake is on, I want that to be more of a metal, or maybe even you know, a glass, so I'm using the grays. Using the complementary color for the blues, so I have an orangey yellow and an orange, and I'm coloring the shirts and the collar, making sure that I follow shading rules so that I've given some depth and dimension to this gal. I've just outlined the exterior of the arm and pulled that color in so that the arms will look rounded, and then using a pale yellow or cream color I laid that on top so that it would be a Caucasian flesh, and working back to the bar, making sure that I have some dimension. It's almost done. And so while that dries, I'm working on my cups. The good thing about watercolor is that if you have more than one image, you can move back and forth. And if it's a good quality paper, it won't take any time at all to dry. It won't get little knobbies or anything on it. And so I've shaded the cups so that it has the appearance of a real glass or pottery cup. The hair I also did in a few different shades. Now I've resorted from not coloring but taking the pigment from the pencil itself with a wet brush. I've done some shading to the face, but I will increase that shading and highlights once I get the hair done. I wanted to maintain the fullness and volume of the hair, so I have probably 4 different shades going from 2 different size brushes. And while that dried, I went back to the bar. This is almost complete. I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. And so now I've just come in with the sharpened pencils and using the tip of the watercolor pencil. I'm just adding shading where the waves would be the under part of the hair and where the wavy hair is darker so that it shows and keeps the volume. I'm back to my original size brush, adding some more detail to the cake, the whipped cream on the coffee cup. A few little touches here and there. The straw and the whipped cream are made from the same colors as the flesh tone. And then keeping with the glass or metal of the serving dish, I thought I would have the glass or the milkshake glass the same. That's the thing when you do watercolor, you want to, or even with Copics, you want to make sure that you carry that whole theme of color all the way through. Now I've fussy cut the bar and cutting the center out with a utility knife, and here I'm finishing up the little barista's face. I decided to use the Ocean Fun and stamp a fish. I used white pigment ink and I stamped the special sign on chalkboard paper. The glossiness of the alcohol cardstock sure adds to the feel of an aquarium, and I use Studio Katia beads, I guess they are, in the aquarium. Antique linen was used for the baseboard, and dried marigold and spice marmalade on the card layer. Here you can see the perspective on the penny black die. This works better when you have a solid wood background. In that I mean that there's not different strips of wood. I added foam to the bar, so that's up quite high, and then low dimensional foam squares are on the special sign and the cup. The barista was glued right to the front card panel, and then I used some touches of Spectrum Noir, crystal clear overglaze, and glossy accents on the berries on the cake. I cut a wood baseboard for the inside panel of the card. It was a little bit bigger because I trimmed the inside panel a little bit narrower than the outside panel, blending some dried marigold in the center, and then stamped "Let's Do Coffee" on the inside. I added liquid Nouveau Deluxe adhesive to the inside panel and attached the inside panel to the card base on the inside, and then the Nouveau Deluxe adhesive to the outside panel. And that finishes this card. I've taken the Sakura pen and added the steam for the cup. And that completes the card. That's the outside and the inside. And here's a look at the card. Remember, you can save 10% by using the coupon code Karen10. It's good from the 1st to the end of May. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.